want to have a candid conversation about what's wrong with the world, or why so many people seem to be freaking stressing out and going through anxiety. Yes, there's economic issues for sure. That's definitely not least of it. I'm not immune to that myself, but I would say that most anxiety, particularly in the USA today, stems from having issues with two things. The first of the two things is how well you know yourself. So, how acquainted are you with your strengths and with your weaknesses? So, weaknesses would be things like not getting enough rest, too much dopamine abuse from scrolling on your phone, especially on things like TikTok or Twitter or Facebook, anything that gets you riled up or feels like you're scrolling looking for something. So dopamine issues, not getting enough rest or not getting high quality rest, not timing things throughout the day to be harmonious with your biology. So for example, not getting bright light in your eyes in the morning, that can make you not feel good. Drinking caffeine after a certain time of day will definitely make you not feel good. And there's many things about that neuroscience has uncovered that just from first principles will be making you have a bad time. So not knowing your own weaknesses and strengths, that's half the battle. So what are your strengths? Everybody seems to have a little bit different of a strength than other people. I would say there's probably more, based on my observation anyway, there's probably more room for variance in personal strength than there is in personal weakness. I think most people have the same or similar weaknesses, but people have very different types of strengths. So that's something that you need to discover on your own and not be afraid of and actually use for yourself. So one of the biggest issues that's causing our social ills, one of the two things, is people not knowing themselves. That is half the battle, knowing yourself, both your weaknesses and your strengths. The other side is that I think that people don't really understand the environment we're operating in. They think that the old rules apply. In particular, just the old systems are getting destroyed. Things like oil and gas companies, traditional auto companies, and y'all know I'm a big Tesla fanatic, so of course I'm going to say those things, but we are now moving into an era with declining cost curves for the past 10 years on particularly solar and battery. They've declined 80%, and those same cost curves go down another 70 or 80% over this decade as well. So that's going to disrupt the biggest economic forces in the USA. Like energy and auto are huge, and they're becoming obsolete more and more rapidly every year. It's now the cheapest kind of power plant to build. Look this up. It's cheaper to build a solar wind battery power plant. Cheaper to build that and pay for the costs of building it over the course of a loan. That loan is cheaper. The payments on that loan are cheaper for the solar wind battery plant than the maintenance costs alone on a traditional coal plant, and I believe natural gas plant as well. And the source for that, if you want to look it up, is called Rethink X, one word, Rethink X, and look up Rethink X and their energy disruption paper. It's free to read. They have a good video about it too, but that is causing a lot of the political and social issues as the transition of energy. And it always happens like this too. So when when London transitioned from wood to coal, it caused a social disruption. When the world transitioned from steam to petrochemicals, that caused a huge array of unseen effects as well. And I'm not here to discuss all of those things. It's all in books that I've read about energy transitions, and I don't remember all of the facts, so I don't want to tell you anything wrong, but I do know there's a tremendous amount of social turbulence when there is a transition in the source and form of the primary energy that drives a civilization. And we're seeing that right now. So we're moving from complex chemical transportation and heating to much simpler electric driven things. Like the machines are so much simpler on the electric side. I've had the good fortune of driving an electric car for now 2 years, and it is much, much, much simpler. I drive the most complex electric car, and it is much simpler of a machine than the standard four-door Mazda 6 that I drove before. Big, big, big difference. And this is causing all kinds of issues. The people that don't want to lose their old power, the ones that have the oil and gas money, the ones that are spending advertising money in the media for their auto companies and oil and gas energy companies, they don't like this disruption. And can you blame them? They have been a primary industry in America for a long, long time. And they have enabled a lot of prosperity. They're not the bad guys, but they are the people that are now going to be put out of business if they don't move to the new type of energy system. And some people, some powerful people really resent that their source of power and wealth is disappearing. And so you see a lot of peripheral turmoil around that. And of course, that's not the only issue affecting America, but it's a big one, and it causes lots of other ones too. So knowing yourself and knowing the system you're working within will help you make sense of things and live from a calmer state. Live from a place of understanding rather than anxiety and confusion. There is no denying that these things are occurring. If you do deny them, then you're going to be living in a world that does not reflect reality. And any time that I have lived in a world that does not reflect reality, anxiety and trouble have followed. So there are a few other big movers happening in the 2020s. Artificial intelligence is going to be a big one. It already is pretty big, but it's not super impacting the mainstream just yet. It's not very obviously. That'll be another big one. The energy disruption and the intelligence disruption, which there hasn't really been an intelligence disruption since probably written language started. So this will be a big one. But 2020s will be crazy, and I'm telling you, if you don't carefully attempt to understand what's really happening, and even if it makes you uncomfortable, and even if it goes against what you would rather things be like, if you don't learn what's going on, understand it, and embrace that that's what's happening, then things are going to be tough, and you're going to be easily influenced by forces that seek to hijack your voice and hijack your influence. So be careful, my friends. Know yourselves and know your environment, and that will make things a lot simpler. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. Love y'all.